So in last discussion, we talked about configuration with @b and the importance of configuration we understand. When there is any third party class which is not stereotype, if you want to create object for that stereotyped class, which is not stereotyped class, we used to keep that class object creation under @bean method by making a method public method with the third party class type with any method name, and we used to create object there, and we will get that bean into IOC container so that you can auto-wire wherever you want that third party class for your utilities, wherever you want to use it. For example, I have given a connection pool class I have created in configuration, and I used connection pool class in my DA. Okay. So about connection pools we will talk later. About connection pools we will talk later. Okay. Now today I'll discuss about life cycle methods. I hope I am audible, right? Everyone? Okay, just a minute. In servlets, you must have gone through lifecycle methods. If you remember, in servlets we used to have init method, destroy method. Servlets have lifecycle implementations, lifecycle methods support we have there. When you implement a servlet class, a public class, my servlet extends HTTP servlet. There you will be implementing a doGet method with a request and a response to handle user request. If there is any form data coming from the user, let's say name, email, address, some data coming from this form, I want to handle this form operations here. So this form read operations or sending response finally. Once after reading this data, if you want to send a message like success, you will be creating two forms. One is for request and one is for response. The request we will read here, and finally we will send response also from here. As soon as user submits data here, if it is a get method, it will hit do get. If it is a post method, we can override do post also here, so that user operations will be executed. User request will be executed here, and user request. Here they given lifecycle support also. Init method, destroy method. Init and destroy methods given, and these methods are not for this particular user request. For user request, there are two methods like doGet and doPost. User can call doGet method from your form or doPost method to handle your request, user request. Apart from this user request, apart from this handling user request, if there are any initializations required for this request handling, You can do all that initializations here, like one-time object creations if you have anything, one-time initialization setup, one-time setup operations if you have anything that you can do here. Let's say, as a simple example, I want to give here from do get and do post. From do get and do post, I'm getting the form data. I want to convert this form data into JSON. I want to convert this form data into JSON. So I need a JSON object here. I need a JSON class here. Common object I want to use. Every time I don't want to create a JSON object here. If I put logic inside this do get or do post method, what will happen? If user submits a request from this form, let's say Naveen trying to register, for Naveen it will execute one time. If Dikshit also tried to register, for him again one more time this code will be executed. So if users continuously hit this doGet method or doPost method, under doGet or doPost, if I do this initialization, for every user request, this logic will be executed. By end of the day, 1000 users are getting requested here, 1000 times this JSON object will be created. So I don't want to create this object every time. One single object is sufficient for me. So you can do that single time initialization logic under init method, this JSON object. I don't want execute this. I don't want execute this JSON object creation logic every time. I just want to initialize here and I want to use it later. Same way, consider you need a connection object here. Every time I don't want to create a connection, every time I don't want to create connection, new connection here, driver manager dot get connection will give you every time a new connection. So I want to do CRUD operation. Consider time being you don't have any service or DO class, you are doing DB operations here. So end of the day, 1000 requests are coming to my doGet method or doPost method. So 1000 times I don't want to create new connection here. One single connection is sufficient for me. So I want to create that connection only one time here. I don't want to create again and again. So how you can make it available? Maybe you can initialize in class instance level and you can create object here. And if you put something in class level, that will be available to your method. So here you can use that JSON reference dot, you can convert from. Here if you pass a object, it will convert to JSON. A JSON string you will be getting here. So object to JSON conversion I can do. And if you want to save data or JSON to object, in case if you are getting JSON request from front end, if you want to convert it into object, there are multiple methods. Let's say if it is a student object, it will convert it into your required type and you can save it into database. Maybe by using connection you can create statement and you can execute it. Connection dot prepare statement or create statement. Put some statement and your query, so it will execute your DB operation. Then you must understand the need of init method. In case if you need any initializations throughout your application, if you need any initializations, only one time if you want to execute that without user intervention, user need not to execute this init method. Your application should have a capability, your framework should have a capability to execute such init methods. Servlet framework is having, Servlet API is having that feature. When you override HTTP Servlet methods, it will provide init method also. When there is a init, there should be destroy. When you put a init, there should be destroy. If there is no init, no destroy required. If there is no init, no destroy required. But if there is a init, compulsory destroy should be required. So who will execute this init method or this destroy method? Excuse me. When you start your container, once after implementation, we will be putting the servlets into Tomcat, right? In Tomcat, we will deploy application, and when we start Tomcat, what immediately Tomcat will do is, like your IOC container, it will create the servlet object. When once you start, right, create servlet object. One servlet object it will create, like your POSO classes. Create servlet object singleton. In servlet service class, servlet classes are singleton. One singleton object it will create. As soon as object created, it will executes life cycle init method. Who will execute? Your container only. Nobody need to call this method. Container will call this init method. IOC container, I mean here your Tomcat container, execute lifecycle init method. Your init method it will execute. After your object creation, using your servlet object, it will call init method. Container will call your Tomcat container. So whatever code you have here, that code also will be executed. Usually during object creation within constructor also we can write some logics. Within constructor also we can have some initialization logics. Constructor will be executed while creating this object. These constructors will be executed while creating this object. If you don't want to put burden on the constructor during object creation, I don't want to put any stress. Here also you can do initializations. If you want, you can do that initializations here also. Do that initializations here as well. So during this object creation, anyway constructor will be executed. So one time code will be executed here. But I don't want to put stress on my servlet. I don't want to create them during object creation. First I want to create object at any cost. Because other classes are depending on my class, so I want to create object first. After object creation, I want to execute these initializations. So Tomcat will execute your lifecycle init method, whatever initializations required you right for you, which initializations I have kept here, whichever is commonly I am using across my doGet method or doPost method multiple times instead of creating multiple objects. I have kept it inside init method. So what will happen if you put it in inside init method? It will be executed only one time after your object creation. Once after your servlet object created, right, singleton object, it will call init method. Only one time. Only one time. Only one time it will call. So here whatever code you have, it will execute only one time, which means one JSON object will be created, one connection object will be created. Fine. Then, so users can call, user 1 can call doGet method or doPost method, and there his methods logic will be executed. Whatever input he has given, that input will be taken to database and it will be saved. JSON will be read your data and it will convert into object. That object will be given to SQL and it will save it into database. So every time for every user request, it will use the same connection or same JSON, not more than one object created, only one object created during init method. The same object it will be used during user request 1, 2 or 3 or 4. Here during execution of this code, whatever object created under init method that we are consuming. So though 1 lakh users request here, it is not going to create new connection or it is not going to create new JSON object. Same JSON whichever is initialized here, that JSON object only or connection object only will be used across application. Will be used same connection initialized in init method. Same connection and JSON object. Same JSON object. It will be happen with every method, every request, every user request. It will be happen. Same connection it will use and the same JSON object it will be used. So there will be no burden on your container now. Instead of creating 1 lakh times 1 lakh connections and 10,000, right? Yeah. Instead of creating 1 lakh times connections for every user request or 1 lakh times instead of creating a new JSON object, whichever is already created under init method, it will be consumed. So there is no burden on your user request as well. User need not to wait until connection is created, until JSON object is initialized. So initializations can be happened here and you can use them here directly. If object is already created, then no burden. You can directly use the object and execute your methods. In case if you have any date time conversions, something simple date format object I want. So I want to create that date format object here, simple date format. You can initialize whichever format is required to you. DD, MM, YYY. I don't know which format that UI is sending, but I want finally DDMMYYY conversion type. So I need simple date format object every time for every user request. So instead you creating them here, you put it under init method. So whatever logic you put it under init method, it will be executed only one time in its lifetime. That will be done during after object creation of your servlet. Tomcat container will be called this init method only one time. Okay. So that one time object created in the init method will be used throughout your do get and do post methods. Though 1 lakh users requested or 10 lakh users requested or 1 crore people requested, it will be using same object whichever is initialized under init method. So unnecessarily it will not occupy 1 lakh times new memory for connection or new memory for JSON or 1 lakh unnecessary connections it will not establish on database. Only one connection it will be established on database, same connection will be used for all the users. I'm just giving you example. In real time we never use single connection. Instead of single connection we will use a connection pool that we will discuss later. Okay, fine. So here, all these users throughout lifetime, they used the same connection, same JSON object or same simple date format object. Then when these objects will be destroyed, here I created objects. Am I going to clean up that object or by default JVM will clean up? If you leave something, JVM will clean up, but we don't know by when it will be identified and cleaned up. Whatever initializations you do, always it's best practice to clean up yourself. So I did some initializations here. So this initializations you need to clean up. Let's say object created. If you want to clear that object from JVM, you need to assign null. When you assign null, that will be closed. If it is a connection, you can call connection dot closed here. So connection will be closed. Simple date format I want to clean up. You may put simple date format equal to null. So whatever initializations you have done here, that initializations will be executed from destroy method. But when this destroy method will be executed, your init method executed during object creation. During object creation, init method will be executed. Destroy will be called during shutdown. When you call shutdown, then it will call all destroy methods mentioned in servlets. Wherever you have destroy methods throughout your servlets, it will call all destroy methods. Who will call container only? Init method executed by container and destroy method also will be executed by container. Okay, no job to end user to execute them. End user just will call doGet or doPost method, whatever methods mentioned for him. Usually his request you will be mapping to doGet or doPost method. And this lifecycle init method will be executed by Tomcat container once after object creation of your servlet. So whatever initializations required, that all initializations we have done as part of init method, and that initializations will be used for user request, for each user request without creating a new object, so that we can reduce the burden on JVM. Instead of consuming a lot of heap memory or lot of connections, we will be consuming only one reference, so that your application will be lightweight. And whatever objects you have initialized, that objects you need to clean up. So that cleanup job will be done under destroy method. So destroy method also will be called by your container only, but the destroy methods will be called during shutdown of your container. So why I want to explain this servlet lifecycles here is same lifecycle methods given in IOC also. If you relate to this, right, for us in Spring also same lifecycle methods given. In Spring, what will happen if you have a bean public? It can be a controller class or service class or DAO class, whatever class it is. Let's say if it is a DAO, I have public class student to DAO. In this DAO class, I'm using repository here. In this DAO class, I need a connection object. I have a save method public string save. I'm getting a student object here or some data int id string name string email and string address I'm getting, and this is user specific method. User can save his data. Any number of users can call. Example, like 1 lakh users can call or more than that. Any number of users can call this method to save their data into table. So to save data into table, I want to create a connection. I don't want to put that connection creation logic here. Driver manager dot get connection. I don't want to put here. If I put here, what will happen? It will be creating new connection every time unnecessarily. It will take time to bring the connection from database and again keeping it back into database. If you do that job here, it will take lot of time, and unnecessarily lot of connections also will be created on your database. It will reduce a lot of performance. Instead, I doing here, before user executing the save method itself, somewhere if that connection is created, I can utilize that connection here. So where you can do that is within your class itself. If you want to do that, you can have a init method here. How you can put init method? Simple. Public void, put any method name. Any name you can put, and here do that initialization logic. I need a connection in my method, so initialize it in instance level, and create that connection here. Driver manager dot get connection, whatever logic you want. And who will execute this method? Nobody will execute. If it is a init method, container will execute. How I can say this is a init method? There is an annotation given to say this as a init method. To say your method as a init method to container, there is a annotation given. So you can put that annotation here. Post construct. Post construct. There is a post construct annotation given. That annotation, if you put on top of any method, that method will become a init method. When you put post construct, now your method is init method. So you can put all your init required operations here in this method. Your method can be void, nothing to return to anybody. So just to do initializations here, a public void method. Do all your initializations here. When you put post construct, then only it will be treated as a init method. Post construct. Okay. I did constructor, I did connection object creation here so that that can be utilized here. So user will use connection created under init method. Fine. Where it will be destroyed? Here 1 lakh users will execute this method and they will be using same connection which is initialized under post construct init method will be used here. And when it will be destroyed, you need to destroy it. You need to clean up it. So cleanup operations also we need to do. Any method name you can put here. Here also any method name, but don't use the same name here and here. Let's say put here init name and here you can put destroy name. And here you need to use annotation to treat connection dot close operation. You can write here, and to make this destroy method as a destroy method, you need to put one annotation here, post construct and pre-destroy. Pre-destroy. Pre-destroy will make this method as a destroy method. So who will execute this post construct and pre-destroy methods? Now onwards, these two are like init method and destroy method for your application. As soon as you scan your application context colon component scan base package, when you pass your repository package something star here, it will go to this repository classes and it will create object to your repository. As soon as it created object, right, when you load it into IOC, when you load this it into IOC create object after component scan. IOC will create object after component scan. If any init methods there, it will execute all init methods. If it find any init methods in your application, it will execute that init methods, and that's it. IOC will be started. It will create object and it will execute init methods. And IOC will never shut down. IOC in real time IOC will never shut down, but as we are calling this IOC from main method, in main method as we are calling application context AP equal to new class path application context. Here we load XML file. It is doing initialization here. This is a standalone container. So container is starting here and automatically container is closing, shutting down. But in real time, when you use it in web application, your application container will be started. IOC will be started from dispatcher servlet and it will never shut down until unless you shut down your Tomcat container. Your IOC will never shut down. IOC will be triggered by Tomcat. Usually built-in Tomcat will be called. Tomcat will be started to IOC. Tomcat will start IOC. Then when you shut down your Tomcat, starting Tomcat means you are starting IOC. Shut down Tomcat means you are shutdowning IOC. Okay, it is happen in real time, but how you will see that here from the main method, how I can call destroy method or shutdown during startup. When you start IOC container, it will do this create object by doing component scan, and it will call all the init methods. How you can shut down, how to shut down it, how to shut down means if you create object like this configurable application context. So this is also one of the interface which they given configurable application context. Instead of application context, you will be using this context. New class path XML application context. So here you will load your XML file. So as soon as you load, it will create objects and it will call init methods. Then how to shut down here? To shut down, you need to call shutdown hook. Configurable application context dot close method. When you call this close method, it will take it as a shutdown trigger. It will take it as a shutdown trigger and it will start cleaning up all the classes. It will go each and every class. It will call all the pre-destroy methods. And whatever initializations you have done under your init method, it's your responsibility to clean up them here under destroy method. Writing destroy method is simple, but under destroy method, you need to put your logic, whichever you want to do the cleanup. So which cleanup you will do here, whatever initializations happened here. Whatever initializations happened here, that initializations you can close here or destroy here. So that is what you can do by using lifecycle init and destroy methods. Let me put an example here. The lifecycle and one more thing, while using these annotations, you remember right, while using auto word annotation or value annotation, that did not work first. The reason we haven't activated them. So activate it. Context colon annotation config. So it will activate the annotations like lifecycle annotations also. Okay. So let me, shall we take the last example? Which is our last example? Uh, uh, Auto object. You guys remember? At the rate auto void. Okay. No, not this one. Stereotype with auto void. Ah, correct. So config explained there, right? Yeah. Let me take that example here. Okay, let me keep example as it is, the last example. In last example, what we have done is we are getting employee controller, and from controller we are calling post method. Controller post is calling service class create method. Service create is calling dio class save method, and there I am using connection pool to get it. And that connection pool also auto void. It is happened from configuration class. Under configuration class I created it. Now time being I don't want to use that data source. This is the right approach. Okay, for real time this is the right approach. Okay, just to explain you lifecycle methods, I'm going to add here connection logic. Okay, otherwise this is the right way to do. So you can write a init method here, public void init. So just put at the rate post construct. Hmm. So do that connection object creation here, connection com. Now create connection here, connection con equal to, before that class dot for name, load your driver, load your driver here and bring connection here, driver manager dot get connection, in column, thin column, at the rate the localhost system admin. So you can use that connection here. And I don't close it here. I don't want to close. If it is connection pool logic, you must close here. But now I don't want to close here. I just want to carry on with the same object. I want to use same object for other users also, not only for one user. And finally, when you want to destroy it, you write a destroy method, public void destroy. You can put connection dot close here. I'll put simple SOP statements here to observe whether these methods are by default automatically executed or not. Yeah, that's it. Nothing much we have there. Now, from here, I'll try to insert a new record here. Into my database. Okay. But when I call it right, let me save it. When I call it, it should call init method. Finally, it should call destroy method as well. Let me execute it. Just a container I'm starting. I'm not doing any shutdown operation here. Let's see how it will behave. And your annotations must be activated here. context to call an annotation config. If you highlight it, you can see here post construct pre-destroy annotations also will be activated. So your annotations will be activated, your init method also will be executed. By default, your init will execute. But to destroy, oh sorry, pre-destroy annotation unit. Though you put this pre-destroy also, now it will not execute it because you are using application context standalone container. It cannot shut down it. So you can see here config object created, DAO created, init method executed, service executed, controller, connection pool creation, everything is done, finally success. But what about destroy method? Destroy is not called, which means whatever connection you have reserved here, this connection not given back to database. Generally database, right? If you don't give, my database is having hardly 15 connections. Now out of 15, one connection or application taken but not given back. What will happen in such scenario? Let's say 15-20 times if you do the same thing, all my connections will be reserved. Shrikant is inserted. All my connections will be reserved. Again, if I try to call database, will say I don't have any connections. Already all the connections which I have given to you. It will say all the connections already given to you. I don't have any connections with me. Even you don't have that connections with you because you did created and you shut down it. After shutdown, properly you need to inform to your database that no longer I need that connection. You need to call close method. Then database will keep that connection back into database itself. Whenever you request, again it will give it to you back. So you need to return the connection back to database here via destroy method. But that destroy is not called. As per log, if you see, init is not called. So to call the destroy is not called there. To call the destroy method, here you need to use configurable application context, and to shut down it you can call close method. Call the close method and see the difference. I'll insert one more record. If you see the difference now, all your objects created, init method executed, and all your operations executed. Finally, when you don't want, finally when you shut down your application, the destroy method executed. Usually this will happen in real time by your Tomcat container. Tomcat will start your application IOC container. So IOC will container will perform all the jobs, init methods, object creation, config creation, everything. When you shut down your Tomcat, Tomcat will call IOC shutdown. IOC will call all your destroy methods. One application can have any number of init methods and any number of destroy methods. Any number of inits and any number of destroy methods you can have. So it will call all init methods during application initialization, and all the destroy methods will be called during your application shutdown. Init method we will use for initializations, destroy we will use for cleanup operations. This is the simple example. If you can remember this, it will be easy to understand what is init and what is destroy. Okay, so are you all good with this? Am I audible to you guys? Huh. If you see, I changed this container name. configurable application context and calling explicitly close method. We don't have close method in application context. Using configurable application context, when I call close method, then it will shut down. It will call all the destroy methods of your beans. Just class name got changed. Okay. Yeah, I'll upload right away. Yesterday somebody chased me. Who is that? Yeah. So I shared new Git link, right? There you can find all the examples. Let me upload it. Right away. So this link already shared in our group. Okay. Again, all the examples has been uploaded. You can get it from here. Yeah. This is also available now. Okay. You can apply the same to date format classes or JSON kind of library you can use. Do any initialization and cleanup operations. Okay. You can do it in any class apart from configuration class, right? You can do it in your service class or DO class or controller class, wherever you want life cycles, you can apply them. Post construct, pre-destroy, post construct, pre-destroy. Okay, just put at the rate post construct on init method, pre-destroy on destroy method. That's it. It will do init and cleanup operations. Okay.